Hello and welcome to the program. I am Imonia Marere. On this edition, our focus is on the staggering sums of money drained from the Nigerian economy every year through illegal financial flows. Now, according to credible international and local financial sources, Nigeria's economy bleeds silently each year through the shadowy corridors of illicit financial flows, otherwise known as IFF. These are funds illegally earned, transferred, or utilized often through tax evasion, corruption, money laundering, trade misinvoicing, and the siphoning of public resources into foreign havens. According to estimates by both the African Union and global watchdogs, Nigeria ranks among the worst hit countries in Africa, losing billions of dollars annually. Nigeria is said to lose about $18 billion, representing around 20% of an estimated $88.6 billion that is lost by Africa to illegal financial flows every year. These losses dwarf foreign aid inflows and undermine the nation's capacity to build and fund critical infrastructure, healthcare, education, and poverty alleviation. The paradox is that while Nigeria struggles with high debt servicing, revenue shortfalls, and widespread poverty, vast sums of wealth are spirited out of its borders, enriching foreign economies at the expense of national development. This phenomenon raises urgent questions about governance, accountability, and the effectiveness of existing financial regulations. At the heart of the problem lies a complex web of collusion between multinational corporations, corrupt public officials, and weak oversight mechanisms that continue to fuel capital flight. This is in spite of an interagency committee that was established in 2019 to halt these outflows. Now, as Nigeria seeks to build a stronger economy, experts say the battle against illicit financial flows is no longer just an economic necessity, but a political imperative to halt the hemorrhage. How and why has this situation persisted? What strategies are needed to combat the menace of illicit financial flows? Is there a political will to do the needful? These are some of the questions that we will be seeking answers to on the program today. And we will get to meet our guests right after this short break. Stay with us.
Our dream, the Nigeria we need, is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT.
Let's get to meet our guests who are already with us. With me here in the studio is Mr. Newton Osemaye. Mr. Osemaye is the social mobilization specialist at Action Aid Nigeria. Mr. Newton, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
We are also joined at this point by Dr. Nwachukwu Anakweze. Dr. Nwachukwu Anakweze is a global affairs analyst, and he is joining us via Zoom from California in the United States of America. Dr. Anakweze, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to have you on the program. We will also be joined very shortly by Dr. Umar Yakubu. Dr. Yakubu is the Executive Director, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. He will be joining us in a while right here in the studio. But for now, let's begin this way. Mr. Newton Osemaye, what is illicit financial flow?
Well, illicit financial flow, according to GFI, Global Financial Integrity, is the movement of money and assets across borders with illegal source, illegal utilization, and also illegal spending, as it were. So that is the basic definition of illicit financial flow. But it encompasses three things that can make it happen. You look at what are commercial activities that are involved, corruption in the country, then also, of course, criminal activities in the countries where they happen. So most times, commercial activities, research has shown that commercial activities actually is the highest contributor to illicit financial flow, followed by criminal activities, followed by corruption. But some of us have argued that we need to contextualize that definition properly and that description properly, because in our context in Nigeria, we see corruption as highest contributor to illicit financial flow, in the sense that reports have shown of past governors who were actually arrested and also convicted as a result of money laundering and taking capital flight out of the country to buy properties outside the country. So that is our own argument here in Nigeria. But however, globally, the report is showing that commercial activities is actually a heavy contributor to illicit financial flow.
With particular reference to Nigeria, the GFI that you just quoted is one of the sources of the data that is available on illicit financial flows.
That's correct.
And it says, I mean, his data says that about 92% of what is categorized as illicit financial flows in Nigeria comes from the oil sector. Is the single most dominant factor of illicit financial flows.
Yes, that's correct. But the oil sector issue is around, of course, also boils down to corruption. That we, from our own lens, we see it as corruption. Though it's commercial activity, but we see it as corruption in Nigeria. Don't forget, GFI report was a global report. They were not specific about Nigeria. It was a global report covering other countries. But we are looking within the context of Nigeria. What is that thing that is so pronounced to us that we think is contributing to illicit financial flow? For me, I think Nigeria is heavy on corruption as a country. Because even if you look at some other reports, they will tell you that Nigeria as a country is contributing 20% to the regional illicit financial flow of $88.6 billion annually. Nigeria is contributing about 20%, which is about $18.1 billion annually. That is the amount of resources, assets, or money that leaves this country annually. And if you translate that to real currency, it's about 27.026 trillion naira that leaves the continent, that leaves the country every year. And that's a huge sum of money. Put that together with the budget recently passed, is half the budget that was passed. 54.6 trillion or so is half the budget that was passed. And 27.026 trillion doubles the amount that is budgeted for education, agriculture, health sector, and security. And basically, these are the key sectors in the country. The agriculture sector is just 2% of 54.6 trillion naira. The education sector is just barely above 7-point-something%. The health sector is just 10-point-something%. Of course, the security sector. Funny enough, the only sector that beats the whole of that sector is the purchase sector for National Assembly members, where SUV purchase contributed about 33.3% to the budget. So we're actually bleeding. The analogy I want to give here is when somebody is bleeding and the person is in the hospital, first thing that they will ask you to do is to donate blood. But the question is, when the amount of blood that is leaving the person is less than or is more than the blood that will be contributed or will be donated to that person, of course, that is a critical state. So what it means is that Nigeria is in a critical state.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Anakweze at this point in time. Dr. Anakweze, why do you think that Nigeria is contributing 20% of what goes out of Africa's illicit financial flows every year. Why has this situation persisted? I mean, $88.6 billion leaves Africa every year. And 20% of that, and according to Newton, that translates to about $18.1 billion every year leaving Nigeria. Now, it is one of the single largest illicit financial flows anywhere around the world.
Yeah, thank you very much. For me, it comes down to our leaders are not serious. We have the most unserious people who not well educated, but heavily corrupt, running the country. People who are supposed to be in prison are the one running the government. You know, look, we were in the same situation as China and India. See, they have serious people in China running the government. They are seriously interested in making their people come to the top. And they have achieved that. Now China is shaking America and the Europeans. Look at India. India is considered a major manufacturing center. What is the difference between we and them? They are serious, and they are serious about fighting corruption. In China, when they started, if you're doing bribe and taking money or giving contracts, they put them in stadium and they shoot them. And that stopped it. They are very serious. We're as intelligent as them or more. We have more resources than everybody. The whole world depends on Africa for resources. But they come underneath your feet. They take rubber, they take oil, the things you need to make battery. We have lithium, they take it, and we're sleeping like mumu. We don't know. In China, you can't go and do anything unless you build a plant there in China. Why can't Africa come together and say, for you to take our rubber and just build a rubber tire in Nigeria? For you to do anything lithium, build a battery in Nigeria. But our people will take bribe. Our people are not patriotic. They are focused on tribes, religion, bigotry. That's the IT for African people. It's a shame because God have given us more than any other continent. Still today, we have more than all the continents. It's corruption. You have people giving contracts that's not well vetted. You have customs under invoicing in customs. You have serious corruption and inefficiency all across the country. The youth have been neglected, which is where you need to be spending all the money. In China, have 25% of the engineers in the world. Chinese are not smarter than Nigerians. It's just that we don't have any serious leadership in Nigeria that are focused on pulling everybody up. Rather, you have somebody gets to power, he appoints everybody from his village to all the minister positions, neglecting the rest of the country that have talent. That's why we are behind. That's why we're not going to go anywhere. The Chinese are serious. They are moving forward. They are moving everybody forward, and they're building everything, including India. And look at us. We're going backward, discriminate against ourselves. We're supposed to be the leader of African people. We're supposed to be the head of African people, pulling all our people forward. But we are not serious people. For me, that is the problem. Being disciplined, bringing in serious leadership that's committed to helping everybody in Nigeria. That's the solution. And it's not too late, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you. If we get serious today, in 15 years, we will have a different country.
All right, Dr. Let me push that a bit further. From your own perspective, the problem is majorly that of our home governments in Africa, and especially so in Nigeria. So do you think that primarily it is the result of governance failure at home, or is there also the connivance or the exploitative structures of the global financial system contributing to this problem?
The first thing is our poor leadership. That's the main thing. If you are not ready, some people will rape you and take advantage of you. They're taking advantage of you because you're not serious. You're asking them for bribe. Then they know you're not a serious person. So foreigners, we always try to exploit you. That's a given. I live in America. You have crooks here in America every day. The only difference is that when they catch you, you go to prison for 50 years. They are corrupt like us, but their FBI deals with them, and that's what keeps them insane. So it's us. We need to get serious and be serious about making ourselves a world power. Nigeria should be a world power. When you're counting Germany, France, Britain, America, China, Nigeria should be there. We are very smart people. Nigerians in America here, they are top 10% of America. They are doing very well. Yorubas and Igbos in America are doing excellent. They are doing better than Oyibo people. So it's not our people individually, it's the leaders. We have the wrong people. They are not serious about pulling everybody forward.
All right, Newton, let me bring you in at this point in time and ask you the same question. Is it simply the failure of governance here back home in Nigeria, or is it a combination of the exploitative structure of the global financial system? And if it is, yeah, why have we allowed it to persist?
Okay, two ways I'm going to answer that question. One, I totally agree that the exploitative structure of the global financial system is part of it. But however, the failure in our governance here and the ability to be very proactive to tackle issues is a problem. I give you an instance. Yes, most times our government will always display this sign of political will that they want to address issues, as it were. Even with this illicit financial flow, I'm very sure that you are aware of the Process of Crime Act 2022. That was passed into law. The argument from the civil society circle has been that let's have a non-conviction-based asset forfeiture, where the onus of proof lies on the man that carries his property everywhere. Okay? So once I suspect that the chain you are wearing has a criminal undertow, a criminal activity for you to have gotten that chain, I can take you to court. And court will agree, will allow me, seize that particular property from you, and it's left for you now to prove. It's a law in Nigeria, 2022. Okay. Now, even with that law, you have seen a public office holder in a national television celebrating a Rolls Royce. The question you ask, that for a public office holder to have a Rolls Royce, what is EFCC still doing or ICPC still doing to interrogate such a public office holder? This is the failure. Political will is demonstrated by having a legislation that could help fight illicit financial flow. But the enforcement is weak because it is selective in a way that people are not arrested. So the fault is here. Then two, of course, the imperialistic or the imperialism that we have suffered from long ago is still ongoing with the capitalists over there. So they are exploitative. There's no two ways about it. The reason why a man wants to do business in your circle is because he wants to exploit you. There's no two ways about it. His profit is exploitative. So if you open that channels for him, of course he's going to take advantage of it, like what Doctor said. So they take advantage of the gaps. They take advantage of the loopholes that we have. For instance, again, I talk about commercial activities. When there is aggressive tax planning, it is our tax expert in Nigeria that helps these companies do that tax planning to avoid tax. So it's not the man who is saying that I want to just avoid tax, but our expert here in Nigeria help him say, look, what you can do to avoid tax, maybe you can increase the money you borrow from the bank. Tell them forge papers and bring the money you borrow from the bank so that when they are deducting your tax, it won't affect your profit. Because, of course, once you subtract your investment from your sales or your income, of course, what you are left with is the profit. And that profit is what is going to be taxed. So if your investment is high, as a result, you borrowed it from the bank or what have you, it is these same people that tell you, look, increase the value of your investment. So it is both exploitative from the global world and also internal failure. Let me quickly say this, sir. You talk about the extractive industry that is one of the industry where capital flight is happening. I agree with you. As we speak in Nigeria, we are still struggling as a country to be able to determine the quantum of oil that leaves our country. So the man who takes oil from your land will be the man to tell you the volume or the amount of oil that is lifting. So if that man is in business, you are expecting him to come and tell you the exact value of oil that is lifting out of the country? He won't do that. Rather, it's an opportunity for him to exploit you. So these are the loopholes. The DPRO depends on oil companies to go to site. The man who is exploiting you is the one who provides a helicopter for you to go to site and measure oil at wellhead. Still in Nigeria, the Navy has been struggling to correct that anomalies till date. So it's the failure of our system, and I think it's also deliberate. It is deliberate from the elites because they also benefit from the bounties that comes from these corrupt activities.
Okay. Well, let's go on a short break, very quick break, so that we can immediately bring in Dr. Umar Yakubu, who is joining us right now. When we return, we'll be looking at other aspects of this whole issue. Stay with us.
Nigeria of our dream. The Nigeria we need is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria, which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT. The Nigeria of our dream. The Nigeria we need is the united, indissoluble, and cohesive Nigeria, which guarantees equity, fairness, justice, and prosperity for its citizens. That is our focus on people, politics, and power. It is fresh, insightful, impactful. It's a must-watch. People, politics, and power on AIT.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We have now been joined by Dr. Umar Yakubu, who is the Executive Director, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Just before you came in, we were talking about whether or not, or it's a combination of two things. The situation locally, that is poor and weak enforcement of laws and legal frameworks in combination with the exploitative global financial system that is probably contributing largely to the volume of illicit financial flows out of Nigeria. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, that premise is actually very correct, but it's better to start looking at solution-driven mechanisms that work. If you sit down and say they are exploiting us, they'll continue to exploit you if you do nothing about it. If you sit down and say you're going to be making laws without really implementing it, like the last speaker I heard was mentioning, there will be nothing about it. Now, illicit financial flows, it's sad that the last data from the African Union was about $10 billion a year to 15, with Nigeria a significant contributor to about $50 billion a year from Africa. Now we have moved from 15 to 18 billion from the last report by Action Leaders. So that's to show you that the mechanisms in place are not working. Now, but illicit financial flows has to do with the movement of the money, not the crime itself. Movement of the money to other jurisdictions. Now, how can you move $18 billion in a year? The only possible way is through the financial system. I know cash may be involved and other measures online, but it's basically through the financial systems platform. So if you want to solve that kind of problem, I will not look at the law, I will look at who is the financial sector regulator, the Central Bank of Nigeria. What are they doing regarding the 21, 22, or 23 banks, I don't know the number now, what are they doing in regulating these amounts from leaving the country to other jurisdictions? And nobody else can do it apart from them. in conjunction with the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, obviously, and other critical stakeholders. So that is the primary problem where I wish you could invite somebody from the CBN to tell you, give you the data, what actions or measures have they taken this year, last year, 5 years ago in stopping illicit financial flows. Now, when you have that data, it's to be easier to see whether they are working or they are not working. So that is the crux of the problem, and that is where the solution lies.
We know, for instance, that in 2019, the interagency committee was put in place. And that interagency committee included the ICPC, the EFCC, the NFIU, the CBN, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, the Nigeria Customs Service, the NDLEA, and of course also involved some civil society organizations, all in an effort to checkmate this process. Between 2019 and now, we are still talking of 18.1 billion leaving the shores of Nigeria, leaving the Nigerian economy, a struggling economy, every year. Yeah. So what is the use of that interagency committee? Or is it that the interagency committee has limited the amount of outflow?
Okay, no. The IATT is a good initiative. There's no civil society on that platform. They are purely made of government agencies. So they are only talking to themselves. They don't listen to civil society. Be that as it may, fine. They are supposed to be a platform that checks every sector. The central bank, financial sector, the NICOM insurance sector, the SEC, all of them. You have SCUMU for designated non-financial institutions and businesses. Fine. But the problem, again, coordination. Who's supposed to coordinate that? Ministry of Justice. Because this is a criminal justice issue in a sense. But you find out all of them working in silos, which are, if you go to their website now, if it's active, you find that you don't see any data on how they have managed to stop these things. And as long as you are not cooperating, the blame will always easily go to ICPC and EFCC, not necessarily understanding when your financial sector regulator has not penalized the banks, has not removed any bank MD, has not done anything, then the fallback will go to ICPC and EFCC. So the lack of coordination, because the Minister of Justice is supposed to actually coordinate all these agencies, he's supposed to be the head, is actually very weak. You find out that it's slotted under the NATI, you know, and it's NATI that is supposed to be funding it. It cannot work that way without that political will and real administrative structure to coordinate their activities.
Can I say something?
Yes.
There are two things. I think we are not serious as a country. And for a country to appropriately deal with issues of this magnitude, there must be a collective action. And if you are talking about a collective action, it's not a selective arrangement of government alone. It's going to be a combination of the private sector itself, the public sector, and of course, civil society organizations. These three units must come together to chart the way forward to deal with this issue. Then the underleg is, when you say EFCC and ICPC, these are enforcement agencies. Once a law is put in place, ICPC and EFCC, NDLEA are expected to enforce that law. I just mentioned Process of Crime Act that was passed 2022. After the act was passed in 2022, a public office holder came to say he has a Rolls Royce. What else do you want? He has a Rolls Royce. It's to go after him, pick up the Rolls Royce, and let him come and tell you his business that he's doing to buy a Rolls Royce. It's as simple as that.
That is just one of the many anomalies.
Many. I mean, you see in the society.
In fact,
Estates, all these estate owners.
List of all
all these estate owners. Go to the estates where people are not staying. Find the people who own those estates. Seize, confiscate those estates. They will come out and let them come and explain to you the business they did over time to be able to have such kind of wealth. So this is about enforcement. Enforcement is not serious. And the reason why enforcement is also not serious is the political interference that you keep saying in Nigeria. Allow EFCC do their job. Allow ICPC do his job. Don't interfere. Don't be selective and tell them who to arrest, who to confiscate his property, or what have you.
But we must take a step back. In the legal framework existing at the moment, strong enough to deal with the magnitude of this problem?
If it's strong enough?
Yes.
Yes, it's strong enough. With the emergence of poker, another law, money laundering, the Money Laundering Act, the poker that was just passed into law in 2022, is strong enough.
You think so?
Yeah, there's an evaluation body for that, which is the Financial Action Task Force, that evaluates all your laws, the legal framework, and assesses it whether it is strong enough to combat all money laundering and what they call prerequisites to money laundering. Things you do, public sector corruption, procurement, all those enablers before you launder the money. Now, when it comes to technical compliance, our legal framework is under technical compliance. We are always scoring A. We're always doing well. So our laws are more than enough when it comes to that area. But another area they will assess you is effectiveness of those laws. Now, this is where implementation comes in. That's where you find out where we are certainly very weak in some aspects of their compliance. Yeah.
Dr. Anakweze, let's bring you back into this discussion now. Should Nigeria focus more on domestic reforms, or it should combine that with international cooperation to track Nigeria's stolen wealth?
Like I started out, I told you that Nigerian leaders are not serious. Nigerian leaders are not serious. The people are not being held accountable. You have a system where people who work in custom, they steal money, and they are the one end up being president. You have a system where people who are governors, they steal the governor's bank of the state, and they send it to Bureau of Exchange. They send monies in dollars outside. They are the one making the decision. They are the one ministers. We're not a serious people. I told you in China, when you steal from the state, they use machine gun and shoot you down in the public stadium. That's why you don't have that such problem in China. We're not serious people. We're not serious about moving black people forward, all black people forward, not just your tribe and your religion. Until we get to there, then we will start making progress, because we are better equipped than all the other continents. We are better equipped than Oyibo people, Chinese people. We have more resources. We are better intelligent than them. It's our people that are the main problem. Working with international agencies, that will always be there. But you have to be serious first. Nobody wants to waste their time with somebody not serious. Well, a lot of American companies want to come to Nigeria. Then the government officials start asking them for 10% bribe to build a university for free for you, to build a hospital for you for free for Nigeria. In Abuja, they want 10%. They walk away from you, they go to Ghana, and they go to Kenya. The Ghana people seem to be more serious than us, and Kenyans, and people from Rwanda. People are laughing at you. Nobody will come and give you bribe to help you. Everything is going to Ghana. Don't you know that? Everything, even the car being produced in Nigeria, they all gone to Ghana. Nobody wants to waste time with you. You are deceiving yourself. You have to decide that you need to change the system, remove somebody who's in custom that stole all the money and now is trying to be president or is president. It's your responsibility. Once you get that right, Nigeria will be a world power where people will be in the gate begging you to give them visa to come and work, and Chinese and people from all over the world. If you have serious people, in 15 years, people will be coming everywhere trying to work in Nigeria. We are the problem. We can't get beyond tribe and religious. Other people are talking about AI, and our own is tribal and religious bigotry. You get it?
Dr. Nakweze, are the so-called safe havens in Europe, in America, and in all the offshore tax havens, are they not equally as guilty as those who accept 10% here to help them launder Nigeria's stolen wealth abroad? And shouldn't we be naming and shaming such safe havens alongside those who are facilitating this process from home?
Yes, you should be blaming them. You should be shaming them. But why would somebody come inside your house and be solving your problem of you and your wife? You're a joke. They will chop your money. And it's not a priority for them. Only in America, If you move more than 10,000, the police, the FBI will start following you immediately. If you move money here, those people are not bringing it to America. In America, they just see some shady money, they will seize everything immediately without wasting any time. A lot of countries are not like that. So who is you that are the problem? Look at a lot of our young people are wasting. Nobody is talking about training our young people, giving them scholarships, giving them skill acquisition, so that they can be able to marry wife or woman, marry husband, because of all the same corruption. You're supposed to have skill acquisition. Like the Chinese, 25% of the engineers in the world are from China. They are more serious than we are. And in Africa, the Ethiopians are more serious, the Ghanaians are more serious, Kenyans are more serious than Nigerians. So for me, the fish is rotten at the head. The people leading Nigeria, their head is rotten with corruption. If you can't deal with that, you don't have any hope, my brother.
All right, Dr. Yakubu,
Yes,
we pride ourselves, or at least this particular government talks about building a $1 trillion economy. Right. Now, how in your view, how do illicit financial flows contribute to undermining Nigeria's economic diversification and sustainable development?
Very good question, because our major problem now that we're transiting to is not just the corruption, which is very bad. It's very bad. Not the money laundering, which is equally bad. Because if there's no high scale of money laundering, how do you understand Abuja having more investment in Abuja than Lagos? What is the business entrepreneurial environment within Abuja? It's all houses and property. But different, when you go to the World Bank website, there's a program called STAR Initiative, Stolen Assets Recovery Initiative, STAR, S-T-A-R. You actually see, I was opportunity to be part of that project. You actually see a virtual map where you see the flow, the countries, the destination countries, and the recipient countries. The destination countries are in blue, the recipient countries are in red, something like that. The whole of Africa, when it comes to inflow, is blank. When it comes to outflow, is all red. You see, it's very clear, so we know what the monies are going to. But let's not waste too much time on who is causing it, who is not causing it, and all this politics. How do we stop it? Because you want to build a 1 trillion naira economy, you have to keep money here. Your resources, they have to be here. Let's not be too much distracted with, we are not going to get $1 trillion from outside. Nobody's bringing money here because of the security issues and other issues. So you have to keep your money here. How do you keep your money from going out? Like I said in my opening statement, only through the banks, the customs, yes, but you cannot move cash of $18 billion. You can't. And that's what is documented. It could actually be more than that. More than that. So the banks have to be effectively regulated. The financial sector, the banks and the BDCs, they are the major ones. Leave the insurance out and the stock exchange, they are minimal. The banks and the Bureau de Change, and they are under the Central Bank of Nigeria. If they don't penalize or stop those leakages, because they have the data, why are they not doing it? Maybe because of the owners of the funds, as my brother here said. The owners, that's why they're not stopping it. Meaning they're complicit and working together, probably with the political class or the ones moving the money. Which is why if you see most of the people, what this political class do, once they get the illicit funds, is to go and buy property abroad. It's not any serious investment, because they are really low-thinking human beings. All they know is property. They don't really do serious investment. So it's the central bank that needs to actually stop.
And maybe because the process of investing money in a foreign economy is also a lot more cumbersome and difficult, more transparent than it is in Nigeria, where the so-called investor brings in very little money and can buy as many or put an investment that everyone will consider to be very huge.
No, actually, it's a psychological trait, people that make easy money, which they have. When you make easy money without working for it, you are thinking of the easiest way to dispose it. You are not innovating. You are not really thinking of how to generate wealth. That's why the real sector booms everywhere in the money laundering, where it is a boosting place. Because the first thing, real estate. You don't hear them in serious businesses investing in technology. That is too long term for them. Because the way you got the money is just a human condition. If you really, those that really work for their money, you find them, they are not doing into all those things. Sorry to cite an example. Dangote that works hard for his money, he doesn't have properties everywhere. He's investing in industries, in entrepreneurial issues. So that's how it's just the human condition that is there. So back to your question, to build $1 trillion economy, this government has to devise ways of making sure all our resources or what is generated, and we have the capacity, we have the resources, both human and financial, to keep all our resources here. And the easiest way to block this thing is through the financial sector regulator. There are other leakages, but if you do that, that 18 billion would drastically come down to less than $2 or $3 billion in a year.
Newton,
Yeah.
Now that we focus on finding solutions,
Okay.
Yeah.
and we're looking at innovative mechanisms to tackle this, you know that beyond the government agencies that we talked about here, the civil society, the media, and
Private sector.
and the private sector have a role or have roles to play in all of this. What do you think they can do to contribute to
We
finding
must
solutions?
collectively discuss how to enhance the use of data in Nigeria. We must improve on the use of data in Nigeria. Even all the figures that will be playing around, you know, they are not consistent. Different agencies are coming with different figures. And they will tell you the reason why that is happening.
And these are
It's difficult.
agencies that are part of that committee.
It's difficult.
They are coming
It's
with
difficult
different
to
figures.
They just meet the way we are meeting now every day. There is no data, there is nothing to capture data. Most times they depend on the same people who exploit them for data to report to us. I can give you an instance. They depend on the same people who exploit us to give us data to report in Nigeria. So we must invest in data. That's one. Then two, of course, the $1 trillion economy is a political ambition that nobody is going to put money in a country that is so corrupt and with insecurity everywhere. It's not just possible. So if he wants to build that kind of economy, first and foremost, he has to tackle security issues. That's number one. Then two, he has to block all the leakages that we have in Nigeria, because nobody will come and invest in a country where monies are leaking out. Where I want to invest, if I'm investing $1,000, you will first and foremost collect about $500 from me as a bribe. That has happened before with Halliburton case in Nigeria. There are cases we can cite in Nigeria that to invest in a country, you must bribe people to be able to invest. So first and foremost, that data, we must enhance data use. Then two, the whole actions of dealing with issues in Nigeria must be a collective actions. It's not a selective actions where you just put government officials together in one office and they drink coffee and disappear every year, come and tell us stories every year that, oh, I can tell you if we meet here again next year, this $18 billion will be a shite play. They might be telling you that it has evolved to 20-something billion dollars. Because it's still, as we are speaking, our money is leaking out of the country. It's leaking out. It's leaking out through the same people who come about making decisions for us.
In any case, if I come into your country to come and invest, and I have to bribe to make that investment, I must think of very innovative ways
Of course,
getting,
if I'm investing,
my
exactly, if
out.
I'm investing $1,000, for instance, and you are taking $500 for a bribe, of course, I'm going to look for means to make up my money back. That's the problem.
Dr. Anakweze, what do you think will be the role of technology in solving this problem?
For me, I'd like to talk about what you need to do to solve the problem. The way to go is private sector, not all this government-owned iron and steel, failure, Nigerian-owned airways, failure, Nigerian shipping, failure, Nigerian this aluminum, failure. It's not the way. You're going to fail, because whenever you have government people, they come with their soil hand to take their bribe. But in private sector, Nigeria is working, and that's where we need to go. You know, GDP, gross domestic product, is talking about what you're producing and selling to the world. Nigeria can't even make matches and toothpick. We're ordering that. So as long as it's like that, you're in serious trouble. You know, they are judging you. What is China making? What is Japan making? What is Germany making compared to you? You are making negative nothing. And then you have the audacity to say your naira have no value. The strength of your naira is based on what you're producing and what you're shipping out. We have the capacity to do that. We don't have leaders encouraging people to do that. That's where we have to go. We need to start local industries, encourage them to start making things, make it easy for them to go out. Open up seaports in Port Harcourt, Calabar, Akwa Ibom, Warri. Build rails going to that so you're making things and they're going out. Without that, you're not going anywhere. You don't have any future. You and your children don't have any future. Like we have rubber. When I was growing up in Nigeria, I know rubber is there. We have petroleum products. That's what you need to make tire. Why are we not making all the tires in the world? People order rubber from us and petroleum products to make the tire. Why? We have lithium in Nigeria, heavy dose. That's what you need for battery. All these electric cars, all these new things need lithium, we have it. But how come you don't have them come and make it in Nigeria? Why are you letting them come and pick up some dirt in your backyard and you think it's just sand? It's precious metal. In China, you can't go there and do anything unless you build it in China. We have the whole of Africa. We need to start trading among ourselves, not depending so much about other people. Let's start with trading among African countries. We make cars in Nnewi, in motors. We make buses, cars, jeeps. We can just start shipping that all over Africa. That will help. We have leather. We have cow skin. We can make purses. We can make bags, shoes. We can make it in Aba. And we can ship it all over Africa. We don't need to just wait and say you import Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce you import have no value. It destroyed your own economy. We can make computers. Our young people are brilliant. If we invest in our young people, Nigeria will be great again.
All right, Dr. Yakubu.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, before you go, very quickly, there is this point that he didn't answer. If the destinations of some of these monies, destination countries, they are also as guilty as yes,
those
they
who
are.
facilitate
yes, they
the
have.
movement from
But
there.
our leaders do not confront these people in some of their meetings.
They
Yes,
cannot
they can't confront them. So why would they confront them? Because
that
the
is where
man
the
who
havens
takes
are.
the man who takes from the man who steals is as guilty as the man who steals. So it takes two to actually tango. So you go to this meeting, you sit down with them, like in 2015, was sitting down with somebody who was saying that your country is fantastically corrupt, and you were just laughing over it. And the man who is saying your country is fantastically corrupt houses some of the monies that were taken out of your country.
Because he cannot challenge.
So why
such
can't
a
he
person.
challenge him?
He
The
cannot
person who
because
steal
he
your
also has
money.
skeletons in his cupboard.
That's the issue. I find my money with you. I can't challenge you that this is my money. So that is the imperialism again that is emphasized again. That is the imperialism that is emphasized to continue to subject Africans to this ridicule by making them look useless and steal from them.
Dr. Yakubu,
Yes,
very quickly, I want you to build a relationship between these outflows, these illicit outflows, and Nigeria's increasing huge debt burden and the poverty situation that we find ourselves today.
Okay. Now, first, before I answer that, there's a general even planning problem we have that we need to address. We don't have to wait for African Union or Action Aid to tell us how much we are bleeding every year.
No, not Action Aid. It's African Union.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
African Union to tell us how much we are bleeding every year. I read the report on Action Aid website.
yes,
That's why
okay,
I'm saying
yes.
Action Aid before I got here. Because the last report was by Africa. We don't need to do that. Where our sector regulators doing that? Because when you don't have the data to plan, you cannot prevent it. So that aside. Two, they are bleeding $18 billion a year. They go and collect aid every year, begging every year, maximum $10 billion. That's what you get. And that aid you are collecting and loans and what have you, you are not even tying it to real productivity. You understand? And in as much as it is not ethical, is the real thing is that if you don't clean your house, like doctor said, nobody is going to clean your house for you. So we need to get our acts together, thinking that they will clean up their system for us. They are not going to do it. There are a lot of countries that are heavy recipients of illicit financial flows from African countries. Because you don't want to clean up your own house, they will not clean it for you. So this cleaning has to be in-house. And the focus should be, let's get a little bit distracted from the political class who already know what they are, and it's not likely they're going to change anytime soon. Let's focus on the sector regulators and the law enforcement. I agree. Sector regulators, 80%. Law enforcement, 20 to 30%. Why? Because it's the failure of the sector regulators that breeds activities for the law enforcement, if you get my point. When central bank does not work, EFCC, ICPC will be overbundled. When you don't block the channels from your regulatory powers, the laws that you can use and pull, this law enforcement, anti-corruption will continue to be struggling. You understand? So these are the problems. Like he said, Code of Conduct Bureau, what does it take to establish a public officer today is corrupt? What does it really take? His annual income is public information. His businesses is or should be public information because you're a public servant. If it is not, so all that thing about using FOI to even request is actually a waste of time. It should be public information. The total remuneration of any public officer legitimate in Nigeria today cannot be more than 100 million naira. Cannot be. To increase it, 150 million naira. What do they own? How can they prove 150, all those houses there? And so it's very easy. So we have to clean inside. Now, when you stop all these things, all these numbers will start to reduce by the African Union establishing $18 billion illicit financial flows. Thank you.
Finally,
Yeah.
Newton, what is civil society doing? What can civil society do?
Well, I think civil society needs to be privy to information. Of course, we don't need to struggle through, like he said, through using the FOI to get information. The government business should be in the public space to allow civil society continue to interact with information that are valuable.
But is civil society doing enough at the moment? Is
Yeah.
civil society doing enough?
Because the space is actually repressed. They are doing enough because the space is actually repressed. Basically, they are civil society that are doing dialogue, that are doing information sharing, that are doing a lot of things. Even those ones who go to the street and say, we can't take this again, let us, of course, mobilize and also protest just to register our concerns and our pain. What usually happens in the country is that they are repressed. So the civic space is also repressed completely by these same elites. So, but I think civil society shouldn't stop. We should continue in that direction because we know definitely a critical mass of Nigeria definitely is going to challenge the status quo that we see today. And at that point, I don't think it's something that any government wants to see, like what is happening in other parts of the country, of the world.
All right. Very quickly.
Okay, just to add, I think civil society, if you take the coalition of civil society to include the media,
Yes.
actually civil society is doing too much. So it's not like we're not doing enough. If you want data on the illicit financial flows, I just told you the STAR Initiative website to go to. We did that, we're part of those that did the job. If you are looking at data on all the corruption on procurement, all civil society will have them. All the bad procurement practices, we expose them. All the bad employments, you know, the nepotism, all those things, they are exposed daily by civil society and the media. So what is lacking is the inaction to listen to civil society. That is what is lacking critically now, especially in the last 2-3 years. They really don't care about what the media says or what people say because they'll say, oh, they'll be tied in 2 or 3 days or in 2 weeks, they will keep quiet. And that is what is happening. Gross inaction and not responding to citizens. But civil society are actually doing a lot.
Thank you so much. Dr. Omar Yakubu is Executive Director, Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And of course, we've also been joined by Newton Osemaye, who is the Social Mobilization Specialist at Action Aid Nigeria. Thank you so much, Newton. And from California in the United States, we were joined virtually by Dr. Omar Chukwu Anakweze, who is a global affairs analyst. Thank you so much, Dr. Anakweze, for your time. And we'll see you again when we bring you a fresh edition of People, Politics, and Power. Bye for now.